Before you co-sign for a loan with somebody, you need to understand what they're really asking. They're not asking for your signature. They're asking to attach their payment habits, their financial decisions, their communication, and sometimes even their life choices to your credit and your future borrowing power. And the dangerous part is this. Most people do not find out cosigning what it really means until they're trying to qualify for something on their own. The obvious risk is that the other person stops paying. That's what most people think about. They miss a payment, your credit gets hit, and now their problem becomes your problem. But there's a quieter risk most people never think about. They might be making the payments, and it can still hurt you. I saw this as a loan officer. Someone applies for a mortgage, and there's a car payment showing up on their credit report. And I ask about it, and they say, oh, no, that's not my car. I co-signed for my son. He's making the payments. Okay, give me proof of the last 12 payments. And then I hear, oh, well, he pays me cash. Well, that's not going to work. Not because I don't believe you, but because lending is not based on what sounds reasonable. It's based on what can be documented. If your name is on that loan, that debt may count against you unless you can prove someone else has been making the payments in a way the lender accepts. Now you're sitting there saying, but it's not really my payment. And the lender is saying, well, your name's on it. Show me proof. And if you can't show proof, your explanation may not matter. That's how doing a good deed can turn into a problem years later. Co-signing feels small when you do it. Someone comes to you and says, I just need help getting approved. And that may be your son, your daughter, boyfriend, girlfriend, sibling, friend, or a parent. And they may be honest. They may fully intend to pay. They may even make every payment for a while. But the lender did not ask for a cosigner because everything was fine. The lender asked because that person could not stand on their own financially for that loan. And that should make you stop, not because the person's bad, because the lender is telling you something. They're saying we are not comfortable taking this risk unless someone else is attached to it. And now that someone else is you. The mistake people make is they turn this into a trust question. Do I trust my child? Do I trust my boyfriend? Do I trust my friend? Well, that's not the right question. The right question is, can I afford this payment if it becomes mine? And not just for 1 month. Can you afford it if they stop paying completely? Can you afford it if you were also trying to buy a house? Can you afford it if your own car breaks down? Can you afford it if you lost income? Can you afford it if the relationship falls apart and you no longer talk? Because the relationship can end before the loan does. And I've seen that a lot. A boyfriend and a girlfriend get a car together. One person co-signs because, no, they're in love. Or they're trying to help and they think, we're together, so this makes sense. But then they break up. The car may be in another state, or maybe it's not that far away at all. But the point is, the cosigner no longer has control. They're not driving the car. They're not seeing the bills. They're not even in the same household. And they may not even be talking to that person anymore. And then they find out the car is 2 months past due. Now the credit score's dropped. Now they're trying to get approved for something else for themselves, and that old decision is now sitting right in the middle of that loan application. That's the part a lot of people underestimate. When you co-sign, you may have responsibility without control. You may not control the payment, the insurance, the vehicle, or even the communication. But your name may still be attached to the consequences. And with a vehicle, you need to be even more careful. Co-signing the loan and being on title are not always the same thing. But people need to know exactly what their name is being placed on. Because if your name ends up on the title, registration, or ownership documentation, now that risk may go beyond a missed payment. What happens if that other person fails to keep insurance but continues driving the vehicle? What happens if they get into an accident and they're at fault? Who gets looked at when someone starts asking, who owns that vehicle? That's not the situation most people picture when they sign. They picture helping someone get a car. They don't picture being connected to an uninsured vehicle getting involved in an accident. They don't picture attorneys, claims, damaged credit, missed payments, and a relationship that no longer exists. But those are the kind of things you have to think about before your name goes on anything. Because the car payment is not the only risk. The person also has to insure it. They have to drive responsibly. They have to communicate. They have to protect your name as carefully as you would protect it yourself. And that is a much bigger ask than, can you help me get approved? This is why cosigning is not just a credit decision, it's a behavior decision. You are not just betting on their income, you're betting on their habits, their discipline, and how they act when money gets tight. You're betting that they will call you before the payment is late, not after the damage is done. And most people, they don't want to think that way because it feels uncomfortable. It feels cold. It feels like you're judging someone that you care about. But lenders judge risk every day. Landlords just risk every day. And if you're going to put your name behind someone else, you have to judge risk too. I used to see this with rental applications. A young person may not qualify for a rental on their own. And so I'd ask, okay, mom, dad, would you be willing to cosign? And sometimes the answer is no. That tells me something. Because my thought was, you know your child better than I do. If you're not willing to cosign and you've known them their whole life, why should I rent to them without a cosigner? That's not personal, that's risk. And the same logic applies when someone asks you to cosign. If a lender, landlord, or creditor is not comfortable taking the risk alone, why are you? That does not mean that you never help people. But helping someone and absorbing their financial risk are not the same thing. You can help someone build credit. You can help them find a cheaper car. You can help them review their budget. You can help them save a down payment. You can help them wait 6 months. You can help them understand why they're being denied. But the moment you cosign, you're no longer helping from the outside. You are inside the obligation. Their missed payment can become your credit problem. Their cash payment arrangement can become your documentation problem. Their breakup can become your control problem. Their insurance lapse can become your liability problem if your name is tied to ownership. Their inability to qualify can become your future loan denial. That's why the question cannot be, do I trust them? Trust is not enough. The question is, am I financially prepared for this debt to be treated like mine? If the answer is no, then you cannot afford to cosign, even if you love them, even if they promise, even if they say, I'll refinance later. You will never have to pay anything, they say that. Because you do not control the future with a promise. You cannot control risk by understanding what your name is attached to before you sign. So before you cosign, ask these questions. Can I afford this payment if it becomes mine? Can I prove who is making the payments? And how would I do that? Will I know before something goes wrong? Is my name going on the title or registration? Can I still qualify for my own loan with this debt showing? Now those questions may feel uncomfortable, but they're a lot less uncomfortable than finding out later that someone else's loan is stopping you from moving forward in your own life. Cosigning is not just a signature. It's not just a favor. It's not just helping someone get approved. It's putting your name, your credit, your cash flow, and sometimes your future options behind someone else's behavior. So if you take one thing from this video, take this. Don't cosign because you trust someone. Only cosign if you're fully prepared for the debt, the payment, and the consequences to become yours. And if someone makes you feel guilty for asking those questions, that may be the clearest warning sign of all.